The moment my husband placed the divorce papers on the dining table, I knew exactly how he had killed me in my first life. Not with his hands. Not with poison. Not with one clean, honest betrayal. He killed me with paperwork, with a calm voice, with a fountain pen, with his mistress sitting in my chair, wearing my silk robe, smiling softly behind a glass of wine I bought. In my first life, I cried when Adrian asked for a divorce. I begged. I humiliated myself. I signed the settlement he pushed toward me because he said dragging things through court would hurt both of us. He said if I truly loved him, I would let him leave peacefully. So I did. I gave up the house, the shares, the company voting rights, the investment account my father built before he died. I gave up everything because I thought keeping my dignity meant not fighting for money. Then Adrian married Celia 3 months later. She moved into my home, wore my jewelry, slept in my bed. And when I finally found the original prenuptial agreement hidden in my father's old legal files, I realized the truth. If Adrian filed for divorce after adultery, abandonment, or misuse of marital assets, he forfeited all jointly held property and transferred his company shares to me. All of it. The house, the investment fund, the voting rights, the luxury apartment, the private equity account, everything. But in my first life, he tricked me into filing first. He convinced me to sign a private settlement before I ever read the prenup. And when I confronted him, Celia laughed and said, "Poor Elena, you were rich enough to own everything, but too stupid to read." A week later, I died in a car crash on the way to Peel. That was my first life. So when I opened my eyes again and found myself sitting in the same dining room on the same rainy night, with Adrian sliding the same divorce papers toward me, I almost smiled. His expression was cold. Celia sat beside him, pretending to look guilty, her hand resting protectively over her stomach. "Elena," Adrian said, voice heavy with rehearsed sorrow, "I'm filing for divorce." In my first life, that sentence destroyed me. This time it sounded like a gift. I looked down at the papers, then at him. "Are you sure?" His jaw tightened. Celia's eyes flickered with triumph. Adrian picked up his pen. "Yes." I leaned back in my chair. "Then file." For the first time all night, Adrian looked confused. He thought I would cry. He thought I would fight. He thought I would beg. Instead, I lifted my wine glass and smiled. "Congratulations, Adrian. You just gave me everything." Chapter 1. The husband who thought I was empty. Adrian Vale had always looked most handsome when he was lying. That was the worst part. The calm blue eyes. The neat black hair. The cufflinks I bought him for our 5th anniversary. The quiet, disappointed voice that made betrayal sound like a mature decision. He sat across from me in the dining room of our harbor mansion, wearing the charcoal suit I once loved seeing him in. Celia sat close enough for their sleeves to touch. She wore a cream dress, soft makeup, and the delicate expression of a woman pretending she had accidentally destroyed a marriage. I knew that expression well. In my first life, it made me doubt myself. This time, it made me want to laugh. Rain slid down the tall glass windows behind them, turning the city lights into blurred gold. The chandelier above us cast a warm glow over the marble table, the silver cutlery, the untouched dinner. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked peaceful. That was marriage with Adrian. Beautiful from far away, rotten up close. "Elena," he said, pushing the papers closer. "I don't want this to become ugly." I traced one finger around the rim of my glass. "No." His eyes narrowed slightly. He was already uncomfortable. "Good." Adrian preferred women who reacted predictably. Tears, silence, anger, collapse. Anything he could manage. Calm made him nervous. Celia placed a hand on her stomach. "Elena, I know you hate me." Her voice trembled. Soft. Careful. Practiced. I never meant for this to happen. I looked at her hand. In my first life, that gesture had gutted me. She told me she was pregnant. Adrian lowered his head like a tragic man trapped between duty and love. I left the room sobbing. Later, I discovered she wasn't pregnant.
Not then.
Not ever. It was a performance.
A prop.
A hand over an empty womb and a lie full enough to move a mansion. This time I smiled. Congratulations. How far along? Celia froze. Adrian's expression tightened. Don't interrogate her. I'm not, I said. I'm asking about your child. Celia's lashes fluttered. Almost 8 weeks. Really? Yes. How strange, I said lightly. You were drinking champagne at the charity auction 2 weeks ago. Her face changed. Only for a second. Adrian snapped. Enough. There he was. The man beneath the gentleman. I turned back to him. You said you're filing? Yes. Not asking me to file? His brows drew together. What difference does it make? So he still didn't know. Or maybe he thought I didn't. That was the beautiful part. In my first life, I had never read the prenup because Adrian told me it was just old family legal drama. My father had insisted on it before the wedding, but after he died, Adrian slowly trained me to feel embarrassed about protecting myself. He called it distrust. He called it coldness. He called it letting money poison love. Meanwhile, he built his company using my family connections, my inheritance collateral, and my silence. But my father had known men better than I did, especially men like Adrian. The prenup was not romantic. It was precise. And precision survives heartbreak. I picked up the divorce papers and flipped through them. Adrian had prepared a private settlement. Again, the same one. I would keep my personal clothes, 1 car, and a reasonable living allowance for 1 year. He would keep the house, the company, the investments, and all assets primarily managed by him during the marriage. Managed by him. A thief's favorite word. I placed the papers back down. This settlement is generous, Adrian said. Is it? His mouth tightened. Elena, don't make this difficult. Celia reached for his hand. He let her. In my first life, that broke me. This time, I looked at their joined fingers and thought of Clause 12. If either party files for dissolution after engaging in adultery, concealment of extramarital financial support, or transfer of marital assets to a third party, the filing party forfeits claims to joint property and controlling shares obtained during marriage. Clause 12 was going to be the most romantic thing Adrian ever gave me. I stood slowly. Adrian's eyes followed me. Where are you going? To get a pen. He blinked. Celia's lips parted. You're signing?
He smiled ahead. No.
I'm making a note. I picked up the silver pen from the sideboard and wrote across the top of his settlement draft. Rejected. Respond through counsel. Then I slid it back. Adrian stared at the words. His face darkened. I lifted my glass. File properly, Adrian. I insist. Chapter 2. The first life where I begged in my first life. I fell apart beautifully. That was what they wanted. A wife crying too hard to read. A woman humiliated enough to sign. A daughter without her father. A fool with a diamond ring and no lawyer. Adrian told me divorce was inevitable. Celia cried and said she didn't want to hurt anyone. His mother called and said, Elena, you've always been dignified.
Don't ruin that now.
Dignified. That word cost me millions. I signed because I thought fighting made me small. I signed because Adrian said he would always care for me. I signed because Celia said, I don't need anything. I just love him. Then they took everything. The mansion became theirs. The company became theirs. The charity board seat became hers. My father's investment trust was diluted through a restructuring Adrian completed 2 weeks after the divorce. When I objected, his lawyer said I had waived claims in the settlement. I still remember standing outside the courthouse holding that letter, my hands shaking, the wind tearing at my coat. I had no home, no company access.
No dopietaschen.
Adrian told everyone I had been unstable for years. Celia told mutual friends I drank too much. His mother told the society pages the divorce was amicable but sad. Then I found my father's files. It was almost accidental. A storage box from his old office. Tax records. Property deeds. A small black folder labeled Veil marriage protections inside was the prenup, the real one, signed by Adrian, witnessed, notarized, still enforceable. Attached to it were letters from my father's lawyer explaining every clause. I read clause 12 until my vision blurred. If Adrian filed first after adultery and asset misuse, I would inherit the marital empire he had built with my money. If I filed first without proving fault, I weakened the claim. If I signed a settlement, I waived it entirely. Adrian knew. His lawyer knew. That was why they pushed me to file. That was why they rushed. That was why Celia cried on command. I drove to confront them that night. Rain hammered the windshield. My hands shook on the wheel. Adrian answered the door in a robe.
My robe.
Celia appeared behind him wearing my emerald necklace. I held up the prenup. For 1 second, his face showed fear. Then Celia laughed. Softly. Cruelly. You found it too late. I don't remember leaving. I remember rain.
Headlights.
A horn. The sound of glass. Then darkness. And then the dining room. The papers. Celia's hand on her fake pregnancy. Adrian saying, I'm filing for divorce. Rebirth did not make me kinder. It made me literate. Chapter 3. My father's lawyer smiles. The next morning, I went to see Mr. Hovel. He had been my father's lawyer for 30 years. In my first life, I went to him after signing everything away. He looked at me with such grief that I nearly hated him for it. This time, I walked into his office wearing a black coat, hair tied back, ring still on my finger, spine straight. His office smelled like leather, paper, and peppermint tea. The walls were lined with legal books and old photographs of people who probably knew how to protect themselves better than I had. Mr. Hovel looked up from his desk. He was older than I remembered. Or, maybe in my first life, grief had aged everyone. I need the original prenup, I said. His expression sharpened. He said nothing for 3 seconds. Then he stood and closed the office door. Is Adrian asking for divorce? He said he's filing. Mr. Hovel's eyes changed. Not surprise. Recognition. As if he had been waiting years for a snake to finally enter the light. Did you sign anything?
No.
Did you agree to file jointly?
No.
Did he admit adultery? I placed my phone on the table. I recorded last night's conversation. His mouth twitched. My condolences. For the marriage? For the fact that your father isn't here to say, I told you so. My throat tightened. For a moment, the office blurred. My father had hated Adrian. Not openly. He was too polite for that. But on my wedding morning, while fastening my bracelet, he said, Love him with your heart, Elena, but sign with your brain. I laughed then. I thought he was being dramatic. Now I wanted to kneel at his grave and apologize. Mr. Hovel pulled a folder from his safe. The black one. Same label. Same weight. But this time, it was not too late. He opened the prenup and turned to clause 12. I knew every word. Still, seeing it made my hands cold. Mr. Hovel read silently. Then looked up. If Adrian files first and we establish adultery or asset diversion, the forfeiture clause activates. Is it enforceable?
Yes.
Your father paid 3 lawyers to make sure of that. A breath escaped me. What do we need? Evidence. I have some. Good.
Get more.
I opened my bag. Photos of Adrian and Celia from the charity auction. Hotel receipts charged to the company account. Jewelry invoices. A lease agreement for an apartment Adrian claimed was for client entertainment. Messages Celia sent me from anonymous accounts in my first life?
Gone. Different timeline.
But she was arrogant. She would create new evidence. People like Celia always did when they believed the victim was already defeated. Mr. Hovel reviewed the documents. His face grew colder with every page. Company funds? Yes. Joint investment account? Yes. Did he buy her the apartment? Through a shell expense account. He leaned back. Elena, do not confront him again. Do not warn him. Do not move money. Do not post anything. Let him file. I smiled. That's the plan. For the first time, Mr. Hovel smiled too. It was not warm. It was professional, which was better. Your father would be proud. That almost broke me. I looked down.
No, I whispered.
He'd be furious. I needed a second life to listen. Mr. Hovel did not ask what I meant. Good lawyers knew which sentences to leave untouched. Chapter 4. Adrian tries to make me the villain. Adrian did not file immediately. That was his first mistake. He waited 3 days, expecting me to panic. I did not. I moved into the East Wing guest suite, changed the bedroom lock, moved my jewelry to a bank vault, forwarded all household staff payments through my personal assistant, reactivated my access to the family trust dashboard. And every night, Adrian became more irritated. On the 4th evening, he found me in the library. The fire was low, rain tapping against the windows. I sat beneath my father's portrait, reviewing investment statements with a cup of tea. Adrian stood in the doorway. You're enjoying this. I didn't look up. Enjoying what? Punishing me. Now I looked up. He had removed his tie. His shirt sleeves were rolled to his forearms. Once, that sight made me weak. Now I noticed the faint scratch near his collarbone. Celia had long nails. I smiled. Are you being punished?
His jaw flexed.
Elena, I tried to do this respectfully. You brought your mistress to my dining room. She's pregnant.
No, she isn't.
His face changed. It was slight, but I saw it. Don't speak about things you don't understand. I closed the folder. Then explain. He stepped inside. Celia has been through enough. She's been through my wine cellar, my robe collection, and roughly $2 million in marital assets. His face hardened. You've been investigating me. Should I not? There's the Elena I know. He laughed bitterly.
Cold.
Suspicious. Always counting. In my first life, that accusation would have sent me scrambling to prove I loved him beyond money. This time, I stood. Yes, I said. I count. His eyes narrowed. You think that makes you powerful?
No.
I think it makes me accurate. He stared at me for a long moment, then softened his voice. There it was. The tone he used when he wanted the knife to feel like a hand. We were happy once. I said nothing. I don't want to ruin you. I almost laughed. You don't. If you fight me, this will become public. People will ask questions about your drinking, your temper, your instability. My pulse stayed steady. In my first life, he had used those words in court filings. This time, hearing them early felt like watching a villain read from an old script. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Good, I said. Send it in writing. His expression twisted. You've become unbearable. No, I said. I've become unavailable. He stepped closer. I loved you. That one hurt, not because I believed it now, because once I did. Once, I built entire mornings around his coffee preference. Once, I learned the names of investors who dismissed him and made them take his calls. Once, I sold part of my inheritance to fund his first factory expansion. Once, I thought being loved by him meant being chosen. But Adrian did not choose women. He acquired them, then blamed them when he wanted a newer asset. I turned back to my documents. File the divorce. His voice went cold. I will. Wonderful. He left. 10 minutes later, Celia posted a photo online. A close-up of a woman's hand resting on a man's shoulder. Adrian's watch visible. Caption: Some loves are worth the storm. I saved it, then sent it to Mr. Hovel. Celia had always been helpful when she thought she was hurting me. Chapter 5. The filing. Adrian filed on a Monday. Clear skies.
Cruel timing.
His lawyer served me at 9:15 a.m. while I was eating breakfast. The envelope was thick, formal, beautiful. I signed receipt with a steady hand. The server looked almost disappointed. I didn't cry. By 10 o'clock, Adrian's side had already leaked it. A society columnist posted, "Sources confirm Adrian and Elena Vale are separating after years of private strain. Adrian reportedly seeks a respectful, amicable divorce." Private strain. That was rich. By noon, Celia had posted flowers. White roses.
No caption.
She didn't need one. By evening, Adrian's mother called. I let it ring, then texted, "Please contact my lawyer." She replied, "You are making a mistake." I smiled.
No.
For once, I was not. The next day, Mr. Hovell filed our response. Not private, not gentle, not emotional. A petition invoking the prenuptial forfeiture clause. Attached evidence of adultery, asset diversion, misuse of company funds, concealment, improper transfers. Request for immediate injunction preventing Adrian from moving assets. By 4 p.m., Adrian called me 11 times. At 4:17, he came home. The front door slammed hard enough to shake the hall mirror. I was in the library again. Of course. If my life was going to become a revenge drama, at least the setting would have mahogany shelves. He stormed in, holding the legal response. What the hell is this? I looked up. A response. You're invoking the prenup? You filed for divorce. His face was pale with rage. You knew? Yes. How long? I smiled. Long enough.
He threw the papers onto the desk.
This clause won't hold. Then why are you sweating?
His eyes flashed.
For 1 second, I thought he might throw something. Then Celia appeared behind him. Of course. She had come to my house again, wearing sunglasses indoors like a grieving celebrity. "Elena," she said, voice trembling. "This is too much." I looked at her. "You're trespassing." Adrian snapped. "She's with me."
For now, I said.
Celia's lips parted. I turned to the house manager standing quietly near the doorway. "Mrs. Lin, please escort Ms. Hart out. She is not permitted on the property without written consent." Celia's face went red. Adrian stepped forward. "You can't do that." I leaned back. "The house is marital property under dispute. Until the injunction hearing, I can restrict non-household guests." Mrs. Lin smiled politely.
Not warmly. Politely.
The deadliest household expression. "Ms. Hart?" Celia stared at Adrian. He said nothing, because for the first time he was realizing something important. The wife he thought was furniture had learned where the locks were. Celia left shaking. Adrian watched her go, then turned back to me. "You think money will make you happy?" "No," I said. "But taking it from you will make me safer." His mouth twisted. "You were never this cruel." "I was," I said. "Just never to the right person." Chapter 6. Celia forgets she was never the wife. The injunction hearing happened 2 weeks later. Adrian arrived with a new legal team. Expensive, aggressive, nervous. Celia came too, dressed in pale gray, sitting behind him with one hand over her stomach, still committed to the role. I wore black. No jewelry except my wedding ring. Mr. Hovell advised me to keep it on until proceedings ended. "Let him see what contract he broke," he said. The courtroom smelled like paper, dust, and expensive perfume. Adrian avoided looking at me until the judge entered. Then he became tragic. His lawyer argued the prenup was punitive, outdated, unconscionable. His marriage had broken down due to mutual emotional estrangement. No misconduct should trigger such extreme forfeiture. Mr. Hovell stood slowly, calmly. Then he opened the evidence. Hotel bookings, company expenses, apartment lease, jewelry purchases, Celia's posts, messages, photos. The false pregnancy claim. That last one came from an unexpected place. Celia herself. 3 days earlier, she had sent me an email. Subject: "Please stop hurting my baby." Inside, she wrote that stress could endanger her pregnancy and that I would have blood on my hands if I continued legal action. Mr. Hovell subpoenaed medical confirmation. There was none. No pregnancy record. No doctor.
No appointment.
No baby. In court, Celia's face turned the color of paper when the judge asked for clarification. Adrian's lawyer looked like he wanted to evaporate. The judge granted the temporary injunction. Assets frozen. Company share transfers restricted. Household property protected. Financial discovery ordered. Adrian's face was rigid. Celia cried in the hallway afterward. Not beautifully this time. Messily. Angrily. "Elena," she snapped when I passed. You're proud of yourself? I stopped. She stood near a marble column, makeup smudged, one hand clutching her designer bag. Adrian was speaking to his lawyers several steps away, not looking at her. That was the first crack in their love story. Mistresses often forget that men who betray wives rarely become loyal under pressure.
I'm not proud, I said.
I'm prepared. You ruined us. I almost laughed. Celia, you were wearing my robe in my dining room. Her eyes burned. He loves me. Maybe. That startled her. I stepped closer. But love was never the asset you came for. Her face twisted. You think I wanted your money? No, I said. I think you wanted my life. She opened her mouth. No answer came, because we both knew. She did not just want Adrian. She wanted the mansion, the name, the charity seat, the jewelry, the softness of being presented as the woman worth leaving a wife for. But Adrian had filed. The prenup had answered. And now the life she wanted was locked behind a clause my father wrote before she ever entered the story. Adrian finally approached. Celia, let's go. She turned to him.
Tell her.
He frowned. Tell me what? That you won't let her take everything. Adrian's silence was almost gentle. Almost. Celia stared at him. For the first time, she understood she had not stolen a prince. She had stolen a debtor. I walked away before their argument began. Some endings deserve privacy. Even ugly ones. Chapter 7. The company chooses the money. Adrian's company was called Vale Meridian. In interviews, he called it his life's work. In investor meetings, he called it my vision. In private, when he was drunk and honest, he called it the only thing that makes me untouchable. He forgot who funded the first office. My father. He forgot whose family introduced the first investors.
Mine.
He forgot whose collateral secured the expansion loan.
Mine.
The board did not forget. Boards have poor morals, but excellent memory when money is involved. Once discovery began, they moved quickly. A special meeting was called. Adrian tried to block me from attending. Mr. Hovell sent one letter. I attended. The boardroom sat 40 floors above the city, all glass walls and polished steel. Adrian sat at the head of the table like a king pretending the castle wasn't on fire. I took the seat opposite him. The directors avoided looking directly at either of us. Cowards in luxury watches. The chairwoman, Ms. Lauron, cleared her throat. We are here to discuss continuity risks arising from the divorce proceedings and asset freeze. Adrian's mouth tightened. This is a personal matter. Ms. Lauron looked at the financial disclosure file. Company funds used for personal housing, gifts, and non-business travel make it a governance matter. Celia was not present.
Good.
She would have hated hearing herself reduced to non-business travel. Adrian leaned forward. Elena is weaponizing a private agreement to destabilize the company. I smiled. The company is destabilized because you used it like a wallet. One director coughed. Another looked down. Ms. Lauron turned to me. Elena, what is your intended position if the share transfer clause is upheld? There it was. The real question. Not love. Not betrayal.
Control.
I intend to stabilize the company, I said. Adrian can remain operationally involved during transition if advised, but financial oversight must change immediately. Adrian laughed. You know nothing about running this company. I looked at him. I know where the money came from. Silence. His face darkened. Ms. Lawrence's pen paused. I continued. I also know investors dislike scandal more than they dislike new oversight. That was the moment the room shifted. Not dramatically. Corporate betrayal never looked dramatic. It looked like directors avoiding Adrian's eyes. It looked like Ms. Lauron asking me for a written transition proposal. It looked like the CFO sliding a folder toward my side of the table instead of his. Adrian saw it. His jaw clenched. You're all insane if you think she can replace me. Ms. Lauron folded her hands. No one said replace. Not yet. The words hung unspoken. After the meeting, Adrian followed me to the elevator.
Elena.
I pressed the button. He stood close enough that I could smell his cologne. The one I bought him. You're going to destroy everything we built. I turned.
We.
His mouth tightened. You want revenge? Yes. The honesty surprised him. Good. But I also want what is mine. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. He caught the door with one hand. For years, I thought you loved me. I did. His face flickered. For 1 second, I saw the man I married. Or maybe only the memory of him. Then I said, that's why you got away with so much. The doors closed between us. This time, I did not cry until I reached the car. And when I did, I let myself. Not because I wanted him back. Because grief does not disappear just because revenge is justified. I had loved him. That was my tragedy. He had counted on it. That was his. Chapter 8. The settlement he begged for 3 months after filing. Adrian asked for settlement talks. Not through threats. Not through lawyers. Through desperation wearing a tailored suit. We met in Mr. Hovell's conference room. Adrian looked thinner. Celia was gone. Not publicly, of course. Officially, she was taking space due to stress. Unofficially, she had learned there might be no mansion at the end of the affair and remembered she had options. Adrian sat across from me with both hands folded.
No arrogance. No mistress. No fake pregnancy.
Just a man watching the empire he married into return to its original owner. Elena, he said quietly, we don't have to do this. I almost smiled. We're already doing it. The court fight will damage the company. Yes. Our reputations. Yours. He flinched. Mr. Hovell's face remained perfectly blank. Adrian inhaled. I'm willing to accept a fair division. I looked at him for a long moment, then opened the prenup. Clause 12. I turned it toward him. You already accepted one. His eyes dropped. For the first time, he looked at the signature.
His own.
Young Adrian's handwriting. Confident. Careless. Back when he thought my father's paperwork was an old man's paranoia. Elena, he whispered. I made mistakes. You made decisions. I loved Celia. No, I said. You liked being worshipped by someone who hadn't seen the invoices yet.
His face twisted.
She wasn't like that. Then where is she? Silence. A brutal one. His throat moved. She left. There it was. No satisfaction came. Only confirmation. Adrian leaned forward. If you take everything, what happens to me? I thought of my first life. My empty apartment. My disconnected phone. My scholarship office emails. My father's files found too late. My body cold under rain. What did you think would happen to me? I asked. He closed his eyes. For once, he did not answer. The final settlement enforced the prenup. I received the mansion, the investment accounts, the controlling share transfer, the apartment purchased for Celia, the art collection, the vehicles, the marital trust. Adrian retained personal belongings, a minority non-voting stake subject to board approval, and enough money to live comfortably by ordinary standards. He acted like poverty had arrived because he could no longer own a yacht. I signed last. My hand did not shake. When it was done, Mr. Hovell gathered the papers. Adrian lingered.
Anna.
I looked at him. I'm sorry. 2 words. Too small for what he had done. Too late for who I had been. I studied him. Once, I would have given anything for those words. Now they sounded like a man apologizing to a locked door. I know, I said. His eyes lifted. Something like hope moved there. So I added, and I'm still taking everything. The hope died. Good. Something should. Chapter 9. Everything. The first night alone in the mansion, I walked through every room. Not as a wife. Not as a ghost. As the owner. The dining room where Adrian filed for divorce. The library where I learned not to flinch. The bedroom I no longer entered. The East Wing suite where I slept like someone hiding from her own life. The wine cellar Celia loved photographing. The balcony overlooking the harbor. Rain had stopped hours ago, leaving the city washed clean and glittering below me. For years, I thought this house was a symbol of my marriage. Then I thought it was a battlefield. Now it was simply property.
Mine.
That was strangely freeing. I sold Celia's apartment first, then the yacht, then the jewelry Adrian bought her with company funds. The emerald necklace she wore in my first life came back through asset recovery. I held it once, then auctioned it for charity. Not because I was noble, because I didn't want her ghost around my throat.
Vale Meridian Survived.
Barely at first, then better. Ms. Lauron became interim chair. I hired an external CFO. Adrian was removed from operational control after the board completed its governance review. The company did not collapse without him. That offended him more than losing me. My name appeared in business articles, not as abandoned wife, not as tragic heiress, as controlling shareholder, as recovery strategist, as the woman who quietly restructured after a difficult private dispute.
Private.
The world loved that word. It made Storm sound tidy. 6 months later, I visited my father's grave. I brought white lilies and the final court order. The cemetery was quiet, sunlight falling through cypress trees, the grass still damp from morning rain. I knelt and placed the flowers beside his stone. For a long time, I said nothing. Then I whispered. I finally read it. The wind moved softly through the trees. I laughed, and then I cried. Messily.
Ugly.
Honestly. I'm sorry it took me so long. In my first life, I had come to him too late. No money.
No pride.
No future. Only apologies. This time, I brought proof that his last protection had worked. Not because paper was stronger than love. Because he knew love could be used against me. When I returned home, Mr. Hovell called. The final transfer cleared, he said. Everything is complete. Everything. The word felt enormous. Not because of the money. Though the money mattered. Safety matters. Homes matter. Power matters. Women are told not to care about money by people who benefit when they don't read contracts. But everything meant more than assets. It meant my name cleared before it was ruined. My father's trust protected. My future returned. My life unended. That evening, I stood in the dining room where Adrian first placed the divorce papers. The table had been replaced. The chairs, too. Celia's chair burned in my fireplace months ago. Childish? Maybe. Healing? Absolutely. On the new table lay 3 documents. The divorce decree. The share transfer. The prenup. I opened the prenup one last time. Clause 12 stared back at me.
Dry. Precise.
Merciless. Beautiful. A message arrived from an unknown number. Elena, can we talk? Adrian. I deleted it. Another message came.
Please.
I have nothing left. I looked around the room. At the house he tried to keep. At the walls my father's money restored. At the silence he once filled with lies. Then I typed one sentence. You filed. I blocked him. Outside, the harbor lights flickered under the darkening sky. For a moment, I saw my first life self reflected faintly in the window. The woman who begged. The woman who signed. The woman who found the truth too late. She looked tired. So tired. I wanted to reach through the glass and tell her, you were not stupid for loving. You were not weak for trusting. But next time, read before you cry. Next time, let him be the one to file. Next time, take everything. The reflection faded. Only I remained. Adrian thought filing for divorce would free him. Celia thought it would make her queen. His mother thought shame would make me obedient. His lawyers thought I was another abandoned wife who would trade rights for dignity. They all forgot one thing. My father did not raise a fool. He raised a daughter who got lost once. And when life gave her a second chance, she came back with the prenup memorized. In my first life, Adrian made me file and stole everything before I knew what my signature cost. In this life, I let my husband file for divorce. I let him bring his mistress. Let him call it love. Let him threaten reputation, dignity, history, and grief. I never warned him that the prenup was waiting. I never told him that adultery, asset misuse, and his own filing would activate the clause he once laughed at. He thought he was ending our marriage. Really, he was transferring ownership. And by the time he understood, every beautiful thing he thought he had taken from me had already come home.